What's up, it's Tim Moose here. Well, January, of course, came and went, and saw a lot of interesting films in January. Some not so interesting either. So here is my official January 2026 movie ranking. Of course, I'm going from like my least favorite, to the okay stuff, and to my official favorite, like my top 10 favorite. So here is my ranking. All right, number 25. I really I wasn't even gonna see this because I really do not want support at all. But I decided to watch it anyway because I wanted to include some like a new film in my worst of the month list. Number 25, the worst movie I saw in the month of January is Melania. Yeah, the awful documentary about Melania Trump. It was awful. One of the worst documentaries I've ever seen. I really did not care for it much. Like at times, I could not even understand Milana at all. Like, I'm so glad that I went to see because some like AMC theaters, like actually I think almost every theaters nowadays, but they always have like those closed caption showings. I'm so glad I saw the closed caption showing, so that way I understood what the heck she was saying. But yeah, and also Donald Trump's face looked more big on the big screen. It's just not a good documentary at all. And once the year's over, I will be shocked if this thing does not end up in my worst of the year list. But we'll get you that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. All right. 24 is another not so great one, and that is Return to Silent Hill. I was hoping to see I was hoping this would be good because it is from the same guy who directed the 2006 one, which is pretty decent. But Return to Silent Hill just wasn't all that great, wasn't all that scary. Terrible dialogue, the performances, which is a shame too, because Jeremy, almost said ours, Jeremy Irvine is a pretty cool actor, but here nothing to really go by. It's just not really that good. Yeah, can't say I recommend that. All right, 23 is Greenland 2 Migration. And no, this has nothing to do with the whole Donald Trump Greenland stuff. This is actually the follow up to the 2020 movie of the same name, or, the first Greenland. And this actually got some pretty decent reviews, by the way. I was a little shocked to see how good the reviews were. It's actually a little more higher than I would have expected. But yeah, Greenland 2 just wasn't all that great. It was boring at times. Did not really care much for the visuals here. I mean, Gerard Butler, I think he sometimes needs a new agent. Like, Dana Dees is okay, but sometimes his like other credits just doesn't always click. But number 22 is Mercy. Oh boy, Mercy just. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. It was still pretty poorly bad. Like, I don't think it's as bad as like last year's War of the Worlds, nothing like that. Because this definitely is like from the same creative team behind War of the Worlds last year, and definitely has a little bit of that War of the Worlds feel to it because the screen it's like those screen type movies. But yeah, Mercy just it wasn't all that great. A really a twist that you actually did see coming from miles away. It's just not really all that great. Terrible acting by Chris Pratt. I mean, it's terrible dialogue here. It really wasn't a good one. All right, 21. I was hoping to see this one because, like, I was hoping to enjoy this one, but it wasn't all that great, and that is actually The Iron Lung. Now, I do appreciate Mark Poplar, for trying for trying his hand at director. I do applaud him for that, but I mean, between The Iron Lung and Chris Stuckman's directorial debut, Shelby Oaks, I think Shelby Oaks is the better film. I know that might not be unpopular to say and all. I just didn't really care for Iron Lung at all. Like, maybe I'm just not really much of a huge Mark Poplar fan. Maybe you gotta be more of a fan of his to really appreciate, or even a fan of the video game to appreciate the movie. Maybe that could be it. But I most decided to see it because I do want to support, indie filmmaking, and even if it's good or not. But I gotta tell you the truth. I just didn't really care for it much. It was like nothing about it really made much sense. It was pretty boring at times. I really the acting, by the way, by Markiplier. I mean, it's his first acting. I don't think he's ever acted before. And sad to say, you definitely tell that this was his first acting gig because yeah, his acting just wasn't all that great. So yeah, I mean, if you're a Markiplier fan, I say give it a go. But me, I just didn't really care for it much. All right. Number 20 is We Bury the Dead. Now, this is, of course, the zombie movie starring Daisy Ridley. And I also wanted to like this one too, but it just wasn't all that great. Wasn't all that scary. Definitely did not felt like a zombie movie at times. The acting by Daisy Ridley wasn't the best. It just wasn't a good one. All right. Number 19 is Killer Whale. I figured this wasn't going to be good, but I still checked it out anyway. Killer Whale, about these two, these two best friends who are pretty much stranded and are and are of course hunted by a dangerous killer whale. It really felt more like that movie, the movie Far, which funny enough is the actress in this was also in Far. It really had a little bit of the Far mixed with the Shallows feel to it. Did not really have as much like killer whale action. For a movie called Killer Whale, there was barely any killer whale action in this. And so, yeah, it just wasn't all that great. Nothing that was really made much sense here. The acting was horrendous. It's just not a good one. And it's a shame, too, because the lead actress, Jeannie Garner, I think her name is, she was actually not bad in the movie 4. Like, I really think she deserves Jeannie's, better material. Because I also quite liked her on that show, Runaways, on Hulu. Of course, she was in The Babysitter in 2018's Halloween, Project Almanac. She's been in some pretty decent stuff, but lately she hasn't been in the best stuff here and there. But all right, number 18 is a movie I saw on Tubi, called Twin. Now, Twin was an interesting premise here. It's from the same director of who did that terrible movie that I saw last year, Run. Of course, we're like this, ruthless woman schemed to replace her twin sister and reclaim her father's life here. And this stars like Drew Sidora, and all. It's the acting just wasn't all that great here. The performances was horrendous. This is definitely you can definitely tell this is a Tubi movie, really. But yeah, I mean, Tubi movies aren't the best, but I still will watch them from time to time because they're not great films, but they could be a little fun at times. But this just wasn't why it was cracked up should be. All right, number 17 is another Tubi movie, How to Lose a Popularity Contest. Now, this stars Sarah Weisglass, who of course appears on the show Ginny and Georgia. Where this rebellious student and her overachieving form an unlikely alliance in their race for student body president here. This actually had a little bit of that John Hughes feel to it. I thought it was an okay little film. I mean, it's not like for a Tubi movie, it definitely had some decent premise to it. Sarah, I thought was pretty charming here. I thought she was pretty good. She gave a pretty decent performance. Chase Hudson was pretty good as the male lead here. I know it was just an okay film. It wasn't anything to go by. I mean, far better than my other least favorite here, but yeah. All right. 15 is Mothers of Flies. When a young woman, of course, faces a deadly diagnose, she of course seeks dark magic from a witch in the woods. Here, this is from I kid you not, these directors who go by the name of the Addams Family, which hilarious right there. But yeah, Mother of Flies just also like it was just okay. I mean, it was actually a Shudder movie. It was a pretty creepy one, to say the least. I really thought the direction was pretty good. I mean, the lady in this is creepy throughout. Like, yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting little horror film. I mean, it's not like great, not like that, but I thought it was a really decent little one. All right, number 15 is Untitled. I kid you not, this is literally the actual title: Untitled Home Invasion Romance. It stars Jason Biggs, who also directs this. Where of course, like this, this actor stages a home invasion during a romantic getaway. You do got like Megan Raff, Anna Konko, who of course was on Pen 15. I really quite like this one. I do definitely had some fun charm to it. I've always liked Jason Biggs, ever since I saw him in American Pie fame. He's always pretty good when he wants to be. I really thought it was a nice little rom com that is well worth watch, say at least here. All right. Number 14 is a film that actually premiered on Lifetime called Accused, the Karen Reed story. Of course, about like this Boston police officer, John O'Keefe, who is found dead, and of course, his girlfriend, Karen Reed, became the prime suspect. And I thought it was like for a Lifetime movie. Sometimes Lifetime movies could be hits and misses once in a while, but I thought this was one of the better ones here. You do got Katie Cassidy, who of course you might know from Arrow fame. I've always adored her, and she really needs to be in more stuff. Like, how is it? How is she not in more stuff nowadays? But Katie Cassidy was pretty good in this one. Some of the other cast of characters, like Luke Humphrey, was pretty good. I thought it was a really decent true story film. Like, whether it's actually stuff in this actually happened in real life and stuff, who knows? I don't really go into these movies expecting a documentary, but I thought it was a pretty good one. All right. 13 is Kidnapped Elizabeth Smart. Now, this is, of course, a Netflix documentary about the kidnapping of Elizabeth Smart. And it's, of course, about her harrowing abduction here. And, of course, she obviously tells her story, her family, and all. It is a really hard documentary to, get into. But I thought it was really decent. I mean, we have seen stories about Elizabeth Smart before. Like, there was, like, a Lifetime movie about her and all. But we haven't really seen, I don't think we've really seen a full-on documentary, but I thought this was a really decent one. I mean, I remember, like, hearing about what happened to Elizabeth Smart. I was a little young at the time to really know much about the story here. I mean, my more introduction to what happened to Elizabeth Smart was on an episode of Family Guy, but that's really more about it. But I know it was a pretty decent documentary worth giving a go. All right. Number 12 is The Testament of Anne Lee. I thought The Testament of Anne Lee was a pretty nice little film. I mean, I'm still a little shocked that Amanda Seyfried got snubbed at the Oscars, but I still thought she was great. Lewis Pullman, Thomas McKenzie. It's a really decent flick. Really decent music throughout. If you guys haven't seen it, give that one a go. All right, number 11 is Shelter. Shelter was a really fun little action movie with Jason Statham. Uh, I thought Jason Statham was pretty good in this one. The girl who was just in Hamnet, she's an actress to keep your eye out for. I thought she was really excellent. Jason Statham's chemistry with her was really good. It is a really nice little fun action movie if you guys haven't seen it. And by the way, the director of this also made Greenland True Migration. So he pretty much did a good film this month and a not so good film this month. So, go on him. All right, now here is my official top 10. Number 10 is Park Chan Wook's No Other Choice. Why did this not get an international nomination at the Oscars is beyond me. But No Other Choice was excellent. Park Chan Wook did a really good job here. Bong Han Lee was great. I thought it was a really decent story throughout. Great performances here. Really hilarious at times. If you guys haven't seen it, give that one a go. All right, number 9 is Rosemaid. Now, Rosemaid, of course, stars Lucy Liu, who I'm still surprised to not, because when this movie premiered at Sundance last year, loads of people who saw it literally thought that Lucy Liu was locked for possible award contentions and stuff. Award season here, she did not get an Independent Spirit nomination. She did not get an Oscar nomination. Nothing. I don't think they knew what the heck to do with this one, but it is a shame too because I think Lucy Liu in this is the best she has ever been. How did she not get put like an Andre Riseborough and at least get an Oscar nomination beyond me? But I still thought she was excellent here. As like a mother who's battling an illness, and trying to discover her, and she discovers her teenage son's violent obsession and must go to great lengths to protect him here. And it's really intense at times. Lucy Liu's great. The one who plays her kid is someone to keep your eye out for. It is a really good one. If you guys haven't seen it, give it a go. All right. Number 8 is Akko. Now, Akko is actually nominated for Best Anime Feature at the Oscars. I don't. There are people who are hoping it actually wins, but I don't see it really beating out K-pop Demon Hunters. But okay. But I thought Arco was still a pretty decent little anime film. Of course, we're like Arco, who's this 10-year-old who lives in a far future. During his first fight in the rainbow suit, he loses control and falls apart here. And you got really decent like U.S. voice additions, like Natalie Portman, Mark Ruffalo, Will Ferrell, Andy Samberg, Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Some really good voice additions. The animation's really good. I mean, I'm still predicting K-pop Demon Hunter will win the Oscar for Best Anime Feature. But you know what? If this actually, slips under the cracks and wins, I wouldn't complain it because it was a pretty good one. But I still really think it's going to be K-pop Demon Hunters. But we'll see. Anything's possible, right? All right. Coming in at number 7 is The People We Meet on Vacation. Now, this is, of course, a romantic movie that premiered on Netflix, starring Emily Bader and Hunger Games boy, what's his name? Tom Blythe. And this is, of course, like where this girl named Poppy, who is a free spirit, and this guy named Alex, who loves like a plan, who after like years of a summer vacation, this like wonder if like they could ever be a perfect romantic match because they always meet on vacation every year and stuff. It is a really nice little rom com. Like Netflix's rom coms could be a hit and miss once in a while. This is one of their better ones. It's really decent, really charming. Emily Bader and Tom Blythe. I would love to see them do actually another film together. I could easily see them become like this generation's Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. When like Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan kept doing rom coms together. I could easily see them being this generations of Hanks and Ryan, but I don't know. It's a really good one if you guys have seen that. All right, number 6 is The Rep. Now, The Rep is, of course, Joe Conahan's new movie starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. I had a fun time with this. The action's great. Possible Oscar-winning actress Tiana Taylor did such a good job. Sasha Calle. It's really decent. I mean, I think this is actually Joe Conahan's best film since The Grey, because he hasn't had anything great since The Grey, to be honest with you. But it is a really good one. If you guys haven't seen The Rep, give it a go. I mean, I think they could easily turn this thing into a franchise, but we'll see. All right, number 5 is a movie that showed Much Deers instead of Melania. Number 5 is The Wrecking Crew, starring Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista. Why is it that Amazon thought it was a good idea to release Melania on Endears and not drop The Wrecking Crew Endears instead of streaming? Beyond me. But The Wrecking Crew is a lot of fun. The on-screen chemistry with Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista is excellent. Miranda Baccarin's great. It's such a really cool one. I mean, of course, director Blue Beetle and Angel Manuel Soda, I think his name is. He does such a good job directing. I mean, and the girl from Leo Century, she's also in this as well. It is a really nice, fun action movie. I hope they spawn this thing into a franchise, but who knows? All right. And let me tell you something right now. If this movie had came to Deers instead of Milana, this movie would have done much better. But Amazon doesn't like. I think Amazon's allergic to money, but whatever. Number 4 is 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Of course, this is directed by Nia DaCosta, and I thought Nia DaCosta did a really good job here. I mean, is it as good as the first film? I admit it's not, but I still thought it was a really decent effort. Ray Fiennes is great. Jack O'Connell, this guy needs to be a more bigger star. Like, I think he was great as a villain here. Ray Fiennes, of course, is great. Aaron Kellyman's terrific. Of course, the post-credits scene was pretty good as well. I thought it was a really decent installment. All right, number 3 is Primate. I thought Primate was a really decent, horror film, directed by Johannes Roberts, who I didn't expect to enjoy this movie because Johannes Roberts hasn't put out anything great for quite some time. I think the last thing he put out that I quite enjoyed was Strangers Prey at Night. This is actually his best film since Strangers Prey at Night. I thought it was a really decent effort. Really, like the monkey, of course, was really creepy at times. Love the kills here. I had a fun time with it, and I hope we do get a sequel, but who knows? Maybe a sequel with a different monkey. Who knows? Number 2 is Sam Raimi's Send Help. Send Help was great. Rachel McAdams was terrific in this. Dylan O'Brien. Uh, I really quite like the island setting. I thought it was really creepy throughout. I mean, it's like Misery meets Castaway. It's just such a good one. I mean, Sam Raimi's best effort. Such a good one here. And my number one favorite film I saw in the month of January is Gus Van Sant's Dead Man's Wire. Of course, obviously Gus Van Sant directed Good Will Hunting. He put out the Psycho remake, many others. This is, of course, a true story of 1977, where real estate developer Tony Curtis puts a dead man's switch on on pretty much is holding this bank more hostage and stuff like that. It's such a really good one. Bill Skarsgård does such a great job here. Dacre Montgomery's great. Malaya from Industry is good in this one. It's such a really wonderful effort. I think only not many people want to go see it, which is unfortunate. But if you guys haven't seen Dead Man's Wire, whenever it comes on streaming, give it a go. It's a really good one. Highly recommend it big time. But that's pretty much it there. Here is my quick rundown. All right. 25, Melania. 24, Return to Silent Hill. 23, Greenland 2 Migration. 22, Mercy. 21, Iron Lung. 20, We Buried the Dead. 19, Killer Whale. 18, Twin. 17, How to Lose a Popularity Contest. 16, Mother of Flies. 15, Untitled Home Invasion Romance. 14, Accused, the Karen Reed Story. 13, Kidnap Elizabeth Smart. 12, The Testament of Anne Lee. 11, Shelter. 10, No Other Choice. 9, Rosemaid. 8, Arco. 7, People with Me on Vacation. 6, The Rep. 5, The Wrecking Crew. 4, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. 3, Primate. 2, Send Help. And number 1 is Dead Man's Wire. Let me ask you guys, what are some of the best and worst movies you saw in the month of January? Drop comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Huey signing out.